Sunshine, gonna make your day. 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 Sunshine, gonna make your day.
The saying goes, once a nurse, always a nurse. Hi everybody, today we are talking about contemporary, everyday real nursing heroes. We've got video footage of 7 awe-inspiring and newsworthy actions by nurses while off duty. It pays to have a nurse around on the Real Nurses Talk Show. Let's get started!
Looks like everything's good in my ends, cause I just keep smiling with my friends. I've been climbing this mountain every day, but I ain't too worried cause I made my pay. I ain't no layer, but my future's bright. I got my friends to keep me tight. I know what's right and I've been what's wrong, but I got this sunshine to keep me strong.
Nurses get to know you and your family on a very personal level. We laugh with you, we cry with you. We celebrate your victories as though they are our very own. We nurses are practically part of your family. Let's pay tribute to some heroic members of our nurse family, shall we?
Sunshine, sunshine.
With a proud parent, not of an honor student or a Little League champion. This man says his daughter is a lifesaver. John Malilly writes, I have a 24-year-old daughter who is a nurse at Children's Hospital. Recently, while working out at a local fitness club, a man suffered a heart attack on a treadmill. My daughter administered life-saving CPR. Now, it all started with your news and an email, so let's get the whole story now from NBC 10's Doug Schemmel. This is a really good story, Doug.
It really is, Dawn, and this is one of these occasions, if 2 lives had not intersected back on March 26th, one of them wouldn't be here.
I remember going into the gym and I remember texting my wife before I got there.
I was completely in my zone, listening to music and, in my own thoughts, and then all of a sudden you're just brought back to reality really quickly.
Maggie Malilly almost didn't go to the gym that day, but something compelled her.
I heard a lady screaming, so I looked over to see what she was screaming about, and there was a gentleman laying on the ground.
Slumped against a machine at Planet Fitness in South Philadelphia was 46-year-old John Friesman.
He was not breathing and he wasn't moving per se, and he's starting to kind of turn a not so good color. So that's when my instincts just kicked in that this was a cardiac arrest.
The former high school wrestler, former Marine and former Army Ranger was dying, and it would be up to a 24-year-old pediatric intensive care nurse from Children's Hospital to save it.
The next thing I remember was seeing 3 of my co-workers in my room. I think that was 5 days later.
The driver for TMK Produce would gradually learn that the young nurse, who's only been on the job 7 months, had been telling people to call 911 while she performed CPR on John for 7 very long minutes.
You can't fake 7 minutes of good CPR.
It was CPR she had just been recertified in at CHOP.
It was just a huge relief to find out that, for a while I was telling the story with no real ending, but to find out that he is doing well is just, great news.
She imparted a lot to me, more than just my life back, but just gave me a reflection of, where I've been, and you don't forget things.
This is Maggie, guys.
Hi, guys. You're welcome.
All of John Friesman's co-workers at TMK Produce wanted to thank Maggie Malilly as well.
There's no words clear enough or strong enough to express our sincere appreciation.
John was too weak to be there, but we played his message for Maggie.
Maggie, I didn't meet you yet, but I'm looking forward to it. Maybe lunch or something in the future. I do thank you.
I'm thankful that I was able to help someone in that way and, help keep him here.
Well, Dawn, John Friesman now has a pacemaker implanted in his chest, and he says once he gets his strength back, both he and Maggie have invited us back for that much happier reunion.
Wow, that's an incredible story. I can't wait to see the follow-up when they actually meet. They'll be connected forever.
Exactly. Two great people, and had just a few things been different that day, the outcome could have been very different.
All right. Thanks very much. I appreciate it.
Sunshine, gonna make your day. Sunshine, gonna make your day.
That was by far the most dramatic use of my nursing skills in a public arena ever.
Salem Hospital Pediatrics nurse Patty Elmore spotted a life or death situation in 2012 while she was driving to her home.
There's this gentleman standing at the bus stop sign, and he had a hold of the bus stop sign. I saw his knees buckle, and then he just fell over backwards.
Elmore pulled over and ran to help. She told the school bus driver, who had also stopped, to call 911.
He was purple and not breathing, and I couldn't get a detectable heart rate. And so I immediately started with compressions. I remember all the cars that were going by. It surprised me that life just goes on. This man's life is in the balance. I just remember thinking, why am I doing this by myself? Somebody should relieve me, it's exhausting. Fire showed up and I continued compressions, and they got an AED hooked up, and I backed off, and they took him to the hospital.
Because of federal and state privacy laws, Elmore didn't know what happened to the man. Then, a few months later, she got a phone call from the local fire department sharing that the hospital notified them he had survived. Eventually, she got to meet him.
We're in the same room, sitting at the same table, having a conversation like you and me, and it was great.
Elmore now encourages others to learn CPR.
If you don't know what to do, that person's not going to make it. Their life is going to end right there in front of you. Take the class.
Our next real-life nurse hero, Jill Lighton, from Brisbane, Australia, had not even graduated from nursing school yet when she jumped onto the train tracks to save a disoriented man. Let's watch her story, shall we?
Good evening. A student nurse has risked her own life to save a man who fell onto train tracks at Wooloowin this morning.
She jumped down onto the lines while a QR staff member made an emergency call to stop an incoming train.
Wooloowin, 8:02 this morning, and a stumbling, disoriented man takes a wobbly step and a fateful fall. Stranded on the tracks, it takes almost 10 seconds for stunned commuters to react. One, a brave student nurse, calls out, then jumps down to his aid. Another woman, a QR worker, makes an emergency call and stops the trains. The 56-year-old man is helped to stand, and then more hands bring him back onto the platform and back to safety.
There was a train coming when this poor gentleman fell off the platform onto the tracks. It could have been disastrous.
The man was on the tracks for almost a minute. A train was just another minute away. Jill Lighton was the QR worker that made the life-saving call.
I was just yelling as I'm dialing, getting on the phone, saying get off the tracks, and making sure nobody else would get on the tracks as well.
Little chance of survival if being hit by a train.
The man who fell is in the Royal Brisbane Hospital in a stable condition.
Everyone was just very concerned about him and making sure that he was okay.
The efforts of that nurse?
She's remarkable. She remained so calm, so calm.
She's taken a selfless act here, a very brave act, and jumped down off the platform to assist the poor guy.
And Michael joins us from Wooloowin Station. Michael, any idea who that brave person was?
Yes, Andrew, I can reveal that her name, this brave student nurse, is Kay Seymour. Now, she lives around the station here at Wooloowin. Her act of bravery was one of 400 near misses on train tracks and train stations and level crossings around the state of Queensland last year. And the message from Queensland Rail is, if you see anyone in that situation, hit this, the emergency phone number. Now, that will get you straight through to Central Command, and it's the quickest way of stopping trains to avert tragedies from happening. Andrew?
All right, good result, Michael. Thank you.
Sunshine, gonna make your day. Sunshine.
To an airborne rescue involving 2 nurses springing into action when one of the pilots had a medical emergency. These women turned the galley, as you can see there, into a makeshift ER. And ABC's Michelle Franzen is on the story this morning. And we should say, Michelle, welcome to ABC News. We're glad to have you.
Thank you very much. It was supposed to be a relaxing flight following the holidays, but instead for Linda Alweis, it was anything but. She was working on her puzzle and then heard the crew ask for help with a medical emergency. And that's when Alweis and another nurse on board rushed to treat the patient, who turned out to be the pilot of the plane.
When the pilot of United Airlines Flight 1637, packed with more than 150 passengers and crew, suffered an apparent heart attack, it was nurses Amy Sorensen and Linda Alweis, way back in coach, who sprang into action, saving the day.
I came over the PSA asking if anybody on board had any medical experience.
The Denver-bound United flight originated in Des Moines. 30 minutes into the flight, attendants announced there was a medical emergency. The flight turned around to make an emergency landing in Omaha.
This is what happens in movies. This isn't what happens in real life.
The 24-year-old from Wyoming, along with Alweis, a veteran nurse from California, say the captain was showing signs of suffering from cardiac arrest.
He was kind of slumped over in his chair, and he was mumbling incoherently.
Passengers looked on as nurses scrambled to stabilize the pilot.
Once we got him into the galley, Amy and I just went to work.
Alweis's family captured the tense moments with cell phone pictures showing the makeshift ER.
It was pretty scary.
Both working in tandem on this day to help save a life, but neither call their actions heroic.
I really don't see myself as a hero. I did what I know for a patient that needed it.
It's what we're trained for. It's what we're expected to do.
She's a hero. I mean, there's no doubt about it.
She saved somebody's life. That's the definition of a hero to me.
United Airlines did not release the name of the pilot, but says he is expected to be okay. And if all of that wasn't enough, a second call went out during that whole time, this time the co-pilot, asking if there was another pilot on board that could help. And so a retired pilot evidently came forward, and the co-pilot was able to land safely.
They're lucky on both fronts. They had a good passenger
A lot of
roster.
heroes on that flight.
Absolutely. Thank you, Michelle.
Great to have you, Michelle.
Sunshine, gonna make your day. Sunshine, gonna make your day. Sunshine, gonna make your day. Sunshine.
Once a nurse, always a nurse. Deborah Hugh took a moment out of retirement in order to save a driver who had been beaten and left for dead. She is yet another nurse doing what nurses do every day, saving lives. Her brave action makes Deborah Hughes our real-life nurse hero number 5. Let's watch.
Detroit police have arrested 2 teenagers in connection with the attack on a driver who accidentally hit an 11-year-old boy with his truck. 7 Action News reporter Kim Russell has been following this story. She joins us now live with all the latest developments. Kim?
Yes, a big break for police. They tell me that 2 teens were arrested this morning at their homes. They live near here where it happened. They are the first arrested after an attack that could shake your faith in humanity. An enraged crowd attacked a man who was all by himself. But tonight, the story that you haven't heard until now, the story of a woman who took on that crowd. When Deborah Hughes heard a crash on Meringue, she ran towards the scene. The retired nurse thought someone might need her help.
And the little boy was laying there, and he said his head was hurt, and I kept trying to say things to him to cheer him up. I saw the man get out of his truck. I saw him walk down, and he said, "Oh, my God, did I do this? Is he all right?"
That man was 54-year-old Steve Utash. Deborah says as she cared for the little boy who had minor injuries, an angry crowd confronted the Clinton Township man.
And then they just, got him and started beating him and stomping him and kicking him, and it wasn't right. When I got over there, I told him, don't nobody hit him no more. Don't nobody hit him anymore, but I had my gun in my pocket. I was ready to do some damage myself if I had to. So somebody had to stand up. It was about maybe 100 people out here.
Were you the only one who stood up and said
I'm the only one stop. I told him, don't kick him no more, don't hit him no more, don't do nothing. Get back. And I got on the ground with him, and I got down there with him, and I started tending to his wound, and I told him, do not touch him again.
The community has responded with prayers and donations for Steve Utash's medical care. He doesn't have insurance. His daughters say he remains in a medically induced coma.
Yeah, I just want to tell him that I love him and hear him say it back.
It's like every day we walk in the hospital, we're like, today is the day, just wake up, talk to me, like, please recognize me, know who we are, please, and yeah.
Today, Mandy Emmerich and Felicia Utesh learned that Detroit police arrested 2 of the 10 to 12 people who attacked their dad, a 16-year-old and a 17-year-old. The news brings them some hope for justice.
I didn't think they were going to catch anybody, so I'm really happy, and now I have hope.
In the meantime, they say they can't wait to thank the brave nurse, the one voice in a crowd who gave their dad a chance at survival.
You might have saved his life.
I hope so.
Was the beatdown of Steve Utesh racially motivated? Probably. To some degree. This is America, after all. And this is Detroit, a town where race is a serpent, a town where blacks and whites have taken turns burning it down. And now the latest spark. A white man lies in a coma for nothing more than stopping to help a child he accidentally hit, only to be set upon by a black mob. Despair? Yes. But I choose to see what's good. This woman, a nurse, a pistol-toting angel of mercy who did what no man, black or white, would do that day.
Me, I don't want to hurt anybody. I want to love everybody. Every color to me is beautiful. And everybody just don't think like me. And I looked out the window and I saw the little boy laying there by the store. The man came about and he was hysterical. He said, what did I do? Did I hurt him? Did I hurt anybody? And he went around the crowd to come on the other side to stay back. And they got him, and they got him right before they got to the gas station. They beat him right there.
Did you have your gun?
Yes, I did. I always, when I see a crowd like that and stuff like that, I'll put my gun in my jacket pocket and I'll go on and see what's going on. I laid over the top of him, I put my arms on him, I say, you are safe. Nobody's gonna hurt you anymore. You're safe, just give it me. And then the EMS was strapping him in. The EMS said, keep talking to him, Miss you got him, you got him.
Why did no one help? Is it a culture of fear? In a town with too few police, are good citizens left to the claws of a mob?
She responded, so she's a hero. Because what would have happened if she had not responded? This is not me saying, well, the police should have been there on time. We can't be in every corner at every moment. I don't care what city. So sometimes when a person is confronted with an imminent threat to life or an imminent threat to someone else's life, you're called to respond.
And was it just race, or is there something more here?
It was frustration, not necessarily racial. Whoever it was, I heard it was multiple people that assaulted the man, so it could have been racial in some people's eyes. It was many different things.
What was it?
What was it? It was basically rage. It was all rage.
Detroit is financially bankrupt. But if you think Detroit is also spiritually bankrupt, then look again. Why would you risk your life for a white man that hit a kid?
I was a man. He wasn't white. He was a man. But I was willing to shoot anybody that hit that man again. It was about maybe 150 people out there.
Nobody helped.
No.
You came to that man's aid.
Yes, I did.
Wow. You are a Detroit hero. Absolutely.
Sunshine, gonna make your day. Sunshine, gonna make your day. Sunshine, gonna make your day.
Tonight, a Payne County nurse is being hailed a hero after saving a child's life.
Next month, Marietta Sousis will receive a Special Director's Award from DHS for her heroic actions. Eyewitness News 5's Michael Seiden was there as Marietta and the baby's mother reunited for the first time since a terrifying experience. Michael, it's a story we'll see only on 5.
The toddler was actually sitting in the back of her mother's car when she found a piece of candy. She picked it up, put it in her mouth, and began choking. Now, it's ironic because this piece of candy, it was actually a lifesaver. And this afternoon, we saw an emotional reunion between the mother and a woman she's now calling her own lifesaver.
Hi, how are you?
For the first time since that terrifying afternoon in Stillwater,
Mommy will say thank you a million times.
2-year-old Blakely is reuniting with the hero who saved her life.
Cute, look at you.
The toddler's mother, Allie Roberts, thought at one point she may lose her daughter.
I came in here and signed some papers, and we got back on the car, and all of a sudden I looked back and she's choking.
Allie had no idea, but just inside the leasing office was Marietta Sousis, a DHS nurse who treats patients in Payne County. As soon as Marietta heard the scream for help, her instincts kicked in.
And I started running up here, and I fell about halfway between that car and here.
Despite her tumble, Marietta limped into action and dislodged the lifesaver from the toddler's mouth.
Just held her upright and put my hands in, my fingers in to do the sweep, and tipped her forward.
I don't know what I would have done without her. She was just a complete blessing, and I mean, she truly is our guardian angel.
If people see me coming, I go, look out, Bigfoot's coming.
Marietta broke her ankle during the rescue, but she says she has no regrets.
As a nurse, you do. If you see someone on the side of the road or choking, you automatically go over and help them.
A reminder that when you're in the business of saving lives,
blessed that she's here today, and glad that they're both a part of my life now.
Yes, and we will forever be a part of your life, won't we, baby?
you're always on call. And we actually got to spend the afternoon with Blakely, and she is doing well. She was full of life, smiling and walking around, and she's definitely recovered from this traumatic experience. Reporting live tonight, Michael Seiden, Eyewitness News 5.
Good to see Michael. What a great story. Again, Marietta is going to receive the Director's Award next month at DHS's commission meeting.
Sunshine, gonna make your day. Sunshine, gonna make your day.
Police need your help to catch the driver who hit a man in Bricktown and then took off. Part of the crash is caught on tape, and weekend anchor Wendell Edwards talked to a hero who helped save the man's life. It's new at 10.
It was here at the corner of Mickey Mantle and Reno in Bricktown, police say, that a dark-colored car struck a man, and then the driver of that car just took off.
Saw a car pass on my right side. Thought they were going a little fast, but it all just happened within seconds.
William Hoffman, out with friends, was just down the street. He said he heard what sounded like two cars colliding.
But then I saw something in the road and knew everybody that was on that side of the road that was screaming. I knew that he had hit a person.
Oklahoma City police released pictures taken from cameras mounted in Bricktown. You can clearly see the car in this picture in the midst of zooming by just after hitting the man. This image shows a car driving away east on Reno. Hoffman ran over to help the man.
Secured his neck and got him on his side in order to kind of clear his airway.
Something Hoffman knows how to do. He's a nurse, and he says he did what he could to save the man's life.
It just happened so fast, and couldn't believe that he didn't stop.
And now police are looking for this car and the person behind the wheel at the time of the crash. Wendell Edwards, Eyewitness News 5.
Sunshine, gonna make your day. Sunshine, gonna make your day.
It was just a miracle, honest to God.
A crash sends a boy strapped in his car seat flying out of the vehicle. Now at 6, how 3 law enforcement officers and a nurse race to help him and his younger sister. Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Wendy Ryan.
And I'm Brendan McLaughlin. An infant and a toddler are recovering from a terrible car crash this morning in Winter Haven. Investigators say their mother pulled out in front of another car. As our Ryan Race reports, some concerned strangers may have saved the children's lives.
When I got to the vehicle, the baby was basically dead.
It looked grim. 2 mangled cars, a 3-year-old boy ejected through a window, and a 2-month-old girl still in the car but showing no signs of life.
It was a
It's a touchy situation to see.
As fate would have it, 2 off-duty deputies and an officer happened to be nearby this morning when the crash happened. Deputy Deborah Martin started CPR on the infant when out of nowhere, a nurse showed up.
Before I pulled over, I could see somebody bouncing, and I knew what that bouncing was. I knew they were doing CPR. I didn't realize it was on an infant.
Cheryl Kelly has more than 12 years experience in the ER, but now teaches her craft. She was on her way to Southern Technical College when she saw the accident, pulled over, and got to work.
So I just want to know that the baby survives. That's all I want to know. I just want to know that the baby does survive.
Together, this nurse and the off-duty officer spent about 4 minutes trying to resuscitate the baby girl named Amani Brown. Then, a moment of relief.
To hear this little gasp of air just come through the baby's body and a little whimper. And I think everybody that was standing around me just started cheering for joy because we knew we got her back.
The Good Samaritans at least gave the infant a fighting chance. She remains in critical condition. Her brother, Makai, is stable. Both might not have made it this far without some good timing and big hearts.
Those 2 were placed here for a reason at that exact moment of time, and that could be what ultimately saves these children.
In Winter Haven, Ryan Raish, ABC Action News.
Sunshine, gonna make your day. 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 Sunshine, gonna make your day.
Her trauma training and astute nursing skills saved the life of this Border Patrol agent, making Rodriguez a real-life nurse hero, number 7 and final nurse on the list. Let's watch her story, shall we?
A UAMC trauma nurse went out of her way to provide care, and her professional heroism ended up saving the life of a Border Patrol agent.
Kristen Sorich has the story.
A big thank you today to the University of Arizona Medical Center and one nurse in particular. That's because of the care she provided to an injured U.S. Border Patrol agent. And granted, that's part of her job, but it's a critical part that should never be overlooked.
Emergency room nurses see traumatic injuries every day. But when Laura Rodriguez was caring for Border Patrol agent James Grayson after the agent was in a serious traffic accident, it wasn't what she saw that caused alarm.
He had a scapula fracture. He really wasn't complaining of pain where his fracture was. He was complaining of so much pain in his back. I mean, just out of the ordinary.
Turns out her suspicions were true. Agent Grayson was suffering from a series of fractures in his back. His initial test didn't reveal any of this. In fact, Grayson was about to be released from the hospital before Nurse Rodriguez insisted additional tests.
It was pretty bad. It was a lot of pain. I'm extremely thankful that someone who takes her job so seriously was on duty that night.
Grayson underwent immediate surgery on his broken back and remained hospitalized for the next week. Today, Nurse Rodriguez was recognized for her professionalism and fast action.
Grateful appreciation for your actions that night, Nurse Rodriguez. Thank you.
Something neither she nor this grateful agent will ever forget.
It's just so good to see him standing here and be fully recovered. And
Kristen Sorich, KGUN 9 on your side.
It does pay to have a nurse around, does it not? This has been it for our show today. Stay healthy, stay inspired. Until next time, this has been Sonia Chester. Bye-bye.
I just keep smiling with my friends. Up and climbing this mountain every day, but I ain't too worried 'cause I'm
what's right and I've been what's wrong.